Hey there, Mr. Luck. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Jim?
Not bad, not bad. Look like it's just the two of us today, so it might be a little bit of a quick show for everyone. So let's go and get to it. Hey, if you're watching right now, I'm wondering and I'm asking you right now, have you tried to buy a business computer or a laptop lately? I really hope not. How about a firewall or maybe a network switch or even a server? And for crying out loud, I hope you're not trying to buy a server, and I hope you're really evaluating the cloud right now. And so, you're not looking to buy a server. But seriously though, availability of hardware right now is out the window and prices are absolutely unreal. And so, that same laptop that was on promo, last year this time, there was incredible excess stock on a little more than a year ago, is nowhere to be found in stock today. It's impossible to get things nowadays. So the short is, if you don't have to buy hardware right now, don't buy hardware right now. But what are you going to do if a system dies or if you have an emergency situation? Well, me and Mr. Loft and whoever else can join up today, the Reboot crew are going to tell you what to do. Okay. But first, thanks for joining me on the Reboot. I'm Jim Gast, and we got a small Reboot crew today. That's okay. Thanks for joining. But we're here to help you evaluate important business decisions in the area of just general business operations, technology, cybersecurity, marketing, productivity, and more. I mean, we're business owners, and we deal with business owners all day long. So we really want to impart more knowledge just to help you make better business decisions. And so, again, I'm Jim Gass with SpliceNet Consulting, and I'm joined with this guy right here.
David Luft with LDB Consulting out of Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Thanks for joining me, Dave. I appreciate it. So, Dave, have you seen shortages in stock where you're at?
Yes, we buy from the same vendors. Most IT companies buy from the same vendors, so the shortages are going to be for everybody.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
They don't make
our
computers.
distributor. We go with Tech. We use Tech Data. We use Tech Data, and we use Ingram. You guys use Tech Data and Ingram?
Correct.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, even like a CDW is buying from those distributors as well. I understand. They get a lot of stuff direct as well, but I understand that they still buy from some of the wholesale outlets like we do. I got to tell you, we do a lot of Lenovo. A lot of Lenovo. We used to get spreadsheets upon spreadsheets every single week. You get a new spreadsheet with what's in stock. And David, I get the spreadsheet now, and it's just like I feel like I'm in the old ghost town out west when I'm looking at a spreadsheet because there's just nothing available. And then when I call up and I want to order something, or I do it online, it goes on back order even though it said it was on stock because everybody else is doing the same thing I'm doing. So
Yeah.
what are you doing? What are you doing for your customers when it comes to hardware right now?
Well, two things. We'll stock up. If I see things in stock, I'll try and buy 10 or
Yeah.
15 of them just because when our customers have an emergency, it's nice to have that equipment for them. And then if I see something in stock, I will call the customer right then if I know they're looking for it and tell them, I'm going to send you a quote, but you have to approve it almost immediately because by the end of the day, it could all be gone.
Oh, within the next 5 minutes. I mean, it's that fast. Everybody's playing the same game right now. We've had firewalls or so we've got new customers coming on board every month now, multiple customers a month. Getting a firewall is weeks. It's crazy. And so what about the prices? Have you seen prices go up as well?
Yes, absolutely. We have one customer that's looking to replace their laptops and they're using Lenovo and Intel. And I told them, unless you're willing to drop $2,000 on a laptop, it's going to be really hard to find one. We had one. We had one customer that was looking for some computers also, and I said, here's what's in stock. Again, really expensive, but I said, they actually had some refurbished stuff, but the
Yeah.
customer's like, no, we don't want refurbished.
Nah, I got out of that game a long time ago too. So we used to about I say we used to like it's old days, right? But it really seems like it. I mean, it was just like this time last year that we were just fine getting equipment. Even when COVID hit, we could still get laptops. There were still not shortages like they are right now. But we used to have a desktop that we sold. It was Lenovo. One of the Think Centers configuration with an i5, maybe 8 to 12 gigs of RAM. We'd actually add an extra 4 gigs of RAM, just bump it over the top. Intel i5, decent hard drive, SSD. We could get that for around, $700. Sell it for around $700, and that's with a little bit of markup for us, right? Now we've got to sell that same system for about $1,000. I mean, it's unreal.
I was talking to some people yesterday, and they were mentioning too that just even people's expectation for labor rates have gone up 30%. When they're looking for salaries, they're looking for 30. So everything's increasing dramatically.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
people are thinking, you're just trying to make more money, but it's not. Well, there's nothing we can do. And even monitors. We've been stuck with monitors where we've had to buy high-end monitors just to keep something in stock, because if something dies, you can't not help your customers.
We're not one to buy monitor. We buy monitors many times off the shelf, at a outlet here, and fortunately we have pretty decent luck. But even they're running low on supplies, and their prices have increased too. So let's talk about this. I mean, the idea of the show today, there's a chip shortage. It's affecting everything. It's affecting cars. My son was in charge of the Hyundai team at Northwood University up in Michigan at their annual auto show. It's an outdoor auto show. It's the largest in North America. And Hyundai, who would normally provide probably one of each of their types of cars for their display, okay, only gave them 3 cars because the stocks on their cars are so low. So chips, and it's because of the chip shortage is what they're saying. They can't keep them in stock because they can't get cars because they can't make cars because of the chips. And so the goal is to keep people from having to buy hardware, right? And so I got a few things here, Dave, that we can talk about. If the computer dies, right? Do we have to get a new computer? What are some of the things we can do to keep them running?
You can always put your computers under warranty. As a matter of fact, we have a remote worker, and his computer died, and it was an HP, and it was still under warranty. And HP sent a guy out the next day, and they replaced the motherboard.
Yep.
But sometimes you see delays on parts too if it's not a very common computer. But keeping the stuff under warranty helps out too.
You bring up a good point, because what I'm going to say, you have to be very careful. Warranties are very important, and I'm not suggesting that anyone void their warranty. Don't call me up and say, "Hey, Jim said to do this, and it voided my warranty." I'm telling you, check your warranty before you do what I'm going to recommend next. But if a hard drive dies in a computer, it can be replaced. You get one off the shelf at a computer store, or we're not having a hard time getting drives or SSD drives, or even the micro drives, right? And so it is possible, isn't it, Dave? And even a system that maybe Lenovo or Dell or whatever to replace the hard drive on it, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just if his computer needed a new motherboard.
Yeah, it's a little bit different than a hard drive, right? And so the motherboard's like the central thing, but there are components within it, and a hard drive's one of them, right? And again, not suggesting you, but check your warranty, because if you replace the hard drive, you could void your warranty, right? But if it dies, a person could replace a hard drive, and hard drives are relatively inexpensive, right?
Yeah, but if you have that opportunity and you're critical for your computers, it doesn't hurt to put them back under warranty, and it's usually not all that expensive, really, for a computer. Servers can get expensive. If it's older equipment, you can expect to pay quite a bit for a warranty.
Yeah, my only fear with putting something under warranty right now that might be out of warranty, that's eligible for renewal, is that they could experience a delay. I mean, I'm talking somebody's dead in the water, right? I mean, the computer has died, and we need to get it back up and running. And so, what sometimes we do is replace the hard drive. If it's running slow, right? Upgrade the RAM. That's another option, right? Sticks of RAM, what, $50? Well, it's probably more expensive now, but and I haven't checked the supply, so we might find it's low on supply, but it's less expensive than the downtime, wouldn't you say, Dave?
Yes, absolutely.
Much less. And usually a stick of RAM to speed up a computer makes a big difference. Difference. Dave, do you recommend replacing processors in computers?
I've never actually had a processor go bad.
No. No, I haven't either. But what if somebody's
We,
saying, our computer, I don't want to buy a new computer. I'm going to wait until the prices come down. Okay. If somebody said, but it needs to be faster, would you start with it? Would you recommend a processor potentially?
well, the problem with that is then you have to also replace the motherboard if you're going to
Yeah,
get a better
possibly,
processor. If you're getting the same
possibly.
processor, what's the point of replacing
Yeah,
it?
yeah. I think you're better off with going with a new hard drive, an SSD, or a micro drive that's faster or something like that, or upgrading the RAM. So that's one thing to consider. Dave, how about trying to keep them from going down just in general, right? I mean,
Yeah,
a lot of times it's not hardware, right?
no. And you mentioned, even just the maintenance piece of it is really good. And so
Yeah.
you could have a computer crash, and a lot of techs will just say, well, just rebuild it. And at that point, you're like, well, I'm just going to get a new one.
So right now, you're going to rebuild it is what the recommendation is. You know, just do that rebuild because it's going to be less expensive. I used to say you're throwing good money at bad, right? When you rebuild a computer, if it's an older computer, like 3 years, right? And so now today, it's when you're looking at double the cost of a system, in some cases more. You know what? It might be throwing good money at bad, but you're going to be saving yourself, headaches and heartaches by spending that extra amount of money for a system.
We
So
actually have one customer that needs to upgrade a whole bunch of computers from Windows 8. And I was talking to him about the difference between spending that money now and waiting until potentially the prices come down, or, just go ahead and spend a little extra now. And is that going to be the difference in the cost between the upgrades? So it's a tough
yeah,
decision. And this is where we'll just keep an eye on the vendors and the warehouses. And if I see a bunch of stock, I'll just say, just be ready when I call.
yeah, yeah, exactly. We're the same way. If we can get 5, 10 computers or laptops, we're buying them, and we're just kind of sitting on them. You know, we're not buying one firewall now. We're buying 2 and 3 firewalls at a time because we're
Yep.
going to use them. We have no doubt about it. And so, what about backups on computers? If a computer crashes and you would normally replace it because it costs too much money to rebuild it, why not just put a backup on it? You're spending a little tiny bit of money to get a backup on it and saving a lot of money by just restoring it should it crash. Do you think it's a good way to go?
Our remote guy, it saved us because when his died, he had the BitLocker on it, and the tech came out and replaced it. And then there's just a whole bunch of issues.
Yeah,
And so we were kind of stuck there. So, but we had everything backed up, so it didn't matter.
that's right. That's right. So, I mean, you might, and everybody's prices are different. So I'm just throwing out arbitrary numbers, right? You might spend $10 a month to back up a computer, a laptop, or a desktop. But if that computer crashes, instead of spending extra money to have it rebuilt and spending the extra money to have it replaced, why not just format that drive and just copy that backup right over top of it? Your backup running in short order.
Hmm.
The thought here, Dave, my thought on this is we're really just trying to stretch the lifetime of these systems. We're trying to make it from, what I recommend about 3 years, to about 4 years on a computer. We're trying to take that out a little bit further so we just don't have to spend that extra money to get a new one right now. You know, what about, do you loan computers to your customers?
We do. As a matter of fact, we have a switch on loan. We had a customer that was having network problems, and just for the troubleshooting process, I popped a new switch in, and it fixed the problem. And now he's ordering a new switch, and we're just letting him use it. That's part of being our customer. We had a large customer that had a server in a mechanical room. This was before we took place, and a pipe broke, and it doused all of their electrical stuff.
Yeah.
We had them up and running the next day with loaner equipment. We had loaner switches, loaner servers, we keep everything here because that's part of the service we want to provide for our customers.
Within reason, of course, within reason. Like not like we're going to keep like spare parts to a server, but we'll have a temporary server in our office.
And it wasn't a
Temporary
fancy
network.
server. It was but it got them up and running, and it got them through the
All that
problem.
matters. They don't care as long as you get running. And what's really funny about that story is that happened to me also, one of our customers, except it was an HVAC condenser that just froze up and the system shut down and then melted all the ice onto the server. So because we had a backup server, we actually kept them up and running. So also, if your managed service provider, your IT company, um, isn't offering you a loaner computer or a loaner server, a loaner network switch, or a loaner firewall, then you should probably ask them for that. Hey, we don't want to spend any hard money for hardware right now. Do you have loaner stuff? And so they should. Any managed service provider worth their weight's going to have hardware that they're going to be able to loan you. Our deciding factor on hardware that on a PC to loan is, would it take us less time to put in a loaner system than to rebuild the system that they've got? Because it's just not a matter of slapping it in there. There's a lot of configuration that goes into users and business software and so on and so forth. So if it takes less time to put in a loaner system than it does to rebuild the system, we go with the loaner system. But we've got PCs in stock that we use just for
Especially
that
if you
purpose.
have good backups on them, because
That's the
then you
other
can
thing.
restore it and you're good to go instantly.
Yep. We're looking at things to consolidate and consolidate that amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dave, many of our customers, our larger customers, can afford to do this, but some of the other customers can't. I mean, it's actually a matter of keeping spares on hand for themselves. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if you're a high volume business and any one of your workers cost you a significant amount of money if they lose time, an hour, 2 hours a day, then it's best for these customers to have their own spares on hand, ready to go, ready and configured and ready to go, or ready for a backup to be restored for it. So, do you have customers that keep spare systems on hand?
Not so many, because we keep a basic spare on hand. But I know a lot of our larger customers just have PCs sitting around. We had a large doctor's office the other day, and I just went and grabbed a PC out of another room, and they were up and running. And the nice thing was, it had all their software, it had all the security on it,
Yep. Yep.
and I took their other one that was dead back, and we got it fixed up and took it back over.
I also recommend cloud for this reason too, because if you are down and all your stuff's in the cloud, it's just a matter of booting the system up, getting somebody logged into it, and them getting their cloud applications. It's so much more efficient. But I would say that for us, we have customers that have remote workers all over the country. So we have two or three customers that, especially during COVID quarantines, where we would have a dozen notebooks in stock for any one or two or three customers, be ready to go and ship it to a different location. Maybe they hired somebody new and we need to ship it to them, and it's theirs. It's already configured. It's already ready to go. It's just a matter. It needs to be deployed to somebody because they just hired them, or they need a replacement. And so we do that quite often as well. I think most managed service providers would probably happily help their customers in this way.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Especially if
any
they're a
any
little bit bigger. If you're just getting started, or a one-man shop, it makes it harder, and that's the
well,
advantage to going with somebody that's a
yeah,
little
it absolutely does. My little watch is going off because we're just about at time. How about that? So, well, hey, we thought it would be a short show. I had to join you from the car because me and the Reboot crew are actually getting together in Nashville this week, and so I'm on my way there. But I'm glad that you could join me today, David, and we could do this for everyone.
Yes, this is
Yeah.
good show, actually.
So the short, okay. If you don't want to buy a computer right now, which you're trying not to, if you can't get a computer right now, the idea is upgrade parts, replace parts as necessary, back them up so they can quickly be restored, so you don't have to replace it, and you can extend that longevity of that system a little bit, manage it to avoid breakdowns and stuff like that, like updates and so on and so forth. Uh, get loaners from your managed service provider, and the bonus was keep them on hand for yourself. That's what I recommend. So, David, thanks for joining,
Yeah,
and I'll be
thanks.
seeing you soon.
Yes, looking forward to seeing you guys.
If you have any questions, anyone, you can put it in the chat sessions and the comments on any one of our platforms: LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. Also, be sure to catch the podcast replays of this on all the platforms except for Pandora. We're trying to get Pandora to accept us, and they're just kind of delaying a little bit. So iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, so on and so forth. We're all over the place. We do have a competitor, by the way, called the Reboot Podcast. So make sure you find the right one. Look for the yellow logo for the Reboot, and here it is up here in the top right corner. So, David, see you soon. Everyone else, thanks a lot. See you next week.
Have a safe trip.
Take care, everyone.
Okay.